Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by
Infinity of Memphis has moved to Germantown Road, just half-mile north of Wolf Chase Galleria, and is proud to support WKNO for its quality broadcasting and service to our community. Quality and service? No wonder Infinity of Memphis feels at home on WKNO.
the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
My guest today on Sports Files is the Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, Ron Tillery. What a crazy, unpredictable, unprecedented season it was for the Memphis Grizzlies, who were eliminated from the NBA playoffs this past Sunday afternoon when they were swept by the San Antonio Spurs 4-0 in their opening round playoff series. The Grizzlies made the postseason for the 6th straight season, but in doing so, had to endure a campaign in which the team used a record-breaking 28 different players. 28! The injuries equaled a mass unit, with stars Marc Gasol and Mike Conley lost for the season. Veterans like Tony Allen missed considerable time. Young players like Jordan Adams and rookie Jarrell Martin were not immune to the injury bug either, with Adams missing the entire season. Even newcomers like Brandon Wright hardly made an impact in his first season with the Grizzlies because of a season-ending injury. It was so bad that you almost expected an injury every time the team took the court. But through it all, the Grizzlies never quit battling. They did what they could despite the huge obstacles in front of them. Now, earlier this week, the team gathered for their annual exit interviews, and we caught up with some of the guys to get their thoughts on the season and Coach Dave Joerger's emotional press conference remarks after Sunday's Game 4.
No, it was one of those moments where you be like, should I go up there and hug him, or because, you know, a lot of times throughout the season, you know, he'll put you on the baseline, make you run, and might take you out the game, or, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case may be. I thought after seeing that interview last night that he put a lot of heart and passion into just trying to make the team better and trying to put us in positions to win. So, and it showed last night that he got a lot of love for us. So,
you know, we care about our guys care about each other, and you know, meeting with a lot of these guys and doing exit meetings this morning, you can, you know, if they didn't stick together, it'd have fallen apart and been nasty. And they didn't. And, you know, somebody made a joke like, how does he not know they didn't lose 6 in a row? I don't know. I mean, like, I didn't know it wasn't May. That was Memphis in May down there. You're just trying to get the next game. And that was the attitude that these guys took. You know, we might have took a hit on one night, but we come back fighting and ripping and running the next night and try to get a win.
Kind of had me speechless. I mean, it just kind of shows what we went through. It just warmed people. You know, what we went through this year as a team was a mentally and emotionally draining.
It's been a different year for me. You know, I'm honestly just ready for it all to stop and just, you know, I can concentrate on other things. So.
How do you go into this process this summer?
You know, just, you know, trying to get back all the way healthy is my number one thing right now, and not worrying about it too much, not to stress about it. I can't do anything about it until the day comes anyway. So just continue to work, get back on the court.
You don't see that everywhere. What happened last night, you know, the fans staying until the very last second to cheer on, you know, our guys and thank them for a terrific season.
Well, good riddance to this season, and hello to what could be one of the most interesting and important off seasons in Grizzlies history. Will Mike Conley re-sign with the team? Will Marc Gasol return to his old form after a lengthy rehabilitation from his foot surgery? What free agents will the team go after? And could there be any shakeup on the coaching staff or in the front office? Today, I'll be joined by the Commercial Appeal's Ron Tillery, who has been the Grizzlies beat writer for every season the team has been in the Bluff City. Ron is not only a terrific writer, but he's not afraid to shoot from the hip. It's always an entertaining conversation with Ron Tillery, who joins me next on Sports Files. Ron, always great to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We know how challenging the season was for the team. I would imagine it was pretty challenging for you as well when you're talking about 28 different players, roster moves galore. You had to be on your toes all the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but you know what? It's the NBA. There's always ebbs and flows in professional sports. And as a beat writer, you just roll with the punches. And this was an unprecedented season, really remarkable. Just when you thought you've seen everything in 20 plus years, right. Here comes 28 different players that make a playoff. Listen, I just roll with it.
And you roll with it very well.
Thank you.
All right, let me ask you this. Look, we know at the beginning of the season they had acquired Matt Barnes in the offseason. They signed Brandon Wright. And then they came out and they got beat up pretty good early on. The big loss to Golden State by 50. They got beat up by Cleveland. Then the season went along and they beat up on the teams that you expect them to beat up. Then the injuries started to happen. And then it was, Katie bar the door. If they were healthy the whole season long, Big Spain, Conley, they were all there for the playoff run. What do you think the Grizzlies would be able to do in the postseason with everything that they added to the team this year?
Well, they would have held on to the 5th seed. That's number one, which means they would have played the Clippers, which means they would have had a good chance of advancing to the second round. And then, anything can happen. Now we look at Steph Curry being injured with the Warriors and the Grizzlies possibly being healthier. Mm-hmm. So you give yourself a chance to make a run. And that just all went out the window, not just when Mark went down, but of course Mike shut down, and then the injury to Mario Chalmers was devastating.
We've heard several times from different writers, from broadcasters, just laymen, fans saying, or asking the question, is grit and grind dead?
Yeah.
With all that said, knowing who's still under contract, is it time for a change, or will we get another year of what we know as grit and grind?
Yeah, I don't want to use that strong word. I don't have on a black suit. I got on white. So I'm going to be kind to grit and grind.
You're the good guy.
But it is a different era of NBA basketball. And what the Grizzlies, quite frankly, have failed to do is capitalize on the team that went to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, they got bounced in the first round. Then they got bounced in the second round. Then they got hurt, which happens. And they didn't have a chance at all, even though they made the playoffs. But the way the game is being played today is more free-flowing. You have more two-way and versatile players. You have a lot more shooting on the floor. And those are some areas, in athleticism, those are some areas where the Grizzlies have not been able to keep up. So when you look at this offseason, you're looking really at a blank canvas because while, they do have key players under contract, save Mike Conley, they've got to fill this roster out, and they've got to fill it out with the new NBA in mind. It's cyclical. I mean, grit and grind worked great, just 5 years ago, but we're at a new day.
And making the playoffs 6 straight years is fantastic for fans. You don't want to have the alternative, but after a while, it's, okay, we've made the playoffs, let's do some damage. And they haven't been able to do too much. You talked about getting to the finals the one year, but obviously guys are getting older, guys are getting hurt, right. and you wonder what's down the line. So let's address some of these off-season questions. First of all, there was the conversation even during the season that perhaps Minnesota, Dave Joerger, they courted him before a couple of years ago. He said thanks but no thanks, that he could be heading there. Tom Thibodeau gets the job at Minnesota. Is there any other possibility, or do you believe Dave will be back? And do you believe there could be any changes within the coaching staff or the front office?
Well, I think anything is possible, honestly. First off, there's been a lot of misinformation out there about Dave Joerger. He was no close to being the Minnesota coach or being considered to be the Minnesota coach than he was to sitting on the hot seat back in November when that story came out.
Okay.
Both of those were erroneous. The fact of the matter is, unfortunately for Dave, that opportunity in Minnesota passed with Flip Saunders. That was his connection.
Okay.
Period. In the discussion. And he was not on the hot seat in November. I mean, that just came out of nowhere. Dave's best bet is getting a stronger commitment from the Memphis Grizzlies, and I think his agent will seek a contract extension. He's going into the final guarantee year of his deal, and given all that everybody's gone through, particularly Dave, I think that's going to be a discussion that's going to be had. Now, is it possible that they can't come to some kind of agreement and they mutually agree to part? I wouldn't rule out that scenario.
Okay.
Because now we're getting into, I think, Greg, an important part of the franchise's future. You know, people can debate this all they want, but Mike Heisley's passing happened 2 years ago Wednesday. They've been living off his 3-year plan, which is responsible for the core four.
Right.
This is Robert Parrish' chance to carve out his vision, his what he sees for the future of the Memphis Grizzlies. And I think that has to do with roster, and I think that has to do with coach and front office.
So with that said, most important offseason that I can remember.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Para, non-existent. I did not see him at any games. Some say that he was at the opener. I don't remember. Is there a disconnect? Is there some kind of issues that we don't know about in the background, or is everything okay?
Well, it's odd because if you remember in the initial days of the Robert Parrish ownership, he was around. And occasionally, you know, he wasn't like out front and center like a Michael Heisley. He wasn't always talking.
But you'd see him every once in a while.
But you would see him every once in a while. And then when he let Le'Veon go, he said, I'm going to be more transparent. Well, we've gotten the complete opposite. We have not seen him at any game. I did not see him at training camp. And, you know, you just don't know what he's thinking.
Right.
And I think it's about time that he articulates a vision for this franchise. I think this is one of the most uncertain off seasons for the Grizzlies because we don't know what they're trying to accomplish, what they're trying to do. Adding
to the uncertainty, some very peculiar questions that were asked of the players on Monday. Not peculiar questions, but answers. Mm-hmm. I want to get to Marc Gasol's comments about his brother Pau in a second, but also with Dave Joerger, who said that, well, he'll be gone on vacation and he'll be back on July 1st. And I guess somebody asked him, I'm not sure if it was you, about the participation in the draft. He said no. What was the exact question they asked him? And it kind of threw people back for a loop.
Well, won't you be around for the draft? And he said no. And in all my years, and Chris Wallace, you know, after that went on radio, both stations in town, and said he's never been a part of any organization where the head coach wasn't involved in a draft.
Right.
I've never.
He tried to put out a fire real quick.
I've never seen it either. I was thinking at the time, like, what are you talking about?
Why do you think he said that?
Well, you know, listen, there is some friction. You can go back to Dave saying we're old and slow, Dave not liking the trades, mm-hmm. Dave not liking draft picks, most notably picking Jordan Adams over Rodney Hood.
Right.
And I think he's annoyed by the shift in dynamic. And if you'll indulge me, listen, when he was hired to replace Lionel Hollins, it was by Jason Le'Veon, who empowered Dave Joerger. Dave Joerger was he has fingerprints over everything. Well, since Le'Veon has been let go, the Grizzlies have moved more in the direction of a traditional franchise in terms of it being, we're the front office, you're the coach. We shop for the groceries, you cook them. And I think that annoys him a little bit.
Was this a bad time to say that? I mean, or was it the right time to say it?
Well, I think everybody, at the end of the day, everybody will get over themselves and they'll make it work.
So just move along, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I don't doubt for a second that Dave won't be involved in the
Got to be part of the process.
Yeah, he'll be processed. Yeah.
Okay. Marc Gasol was asked about Pau. I guess he's a free agent. Mm-hmm. Played with the
he
Bulls.
can opt out.
He can opt out.
Right.
He said, I'd love to play with my brother. But his suggestion was, I would tell my brother to go to San Antonio if that possibility was there.
Oh, boy, you can go a long way with that one.
You can. There's a lot of people that said that's an indirect criticism of the Grizzlies. There's others that say, well, he's just thinking about his brother, doing the best for his brother. San Antonio just happens to be in the same division, in the same conference. Come on now. What do you take out of that?
I think he regrets. Listen, I sat here on your stage, man, and I looked in that camera and I said, Marc Gasol is not coming back.
Right.
And then he goes on that end of the season media day and says, well, if I was advising Pau, I'd tell him to go to San Antonio for the reasons that I gave when I said that Marc would leave.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's hard not to read all of that into that comment.
Well, look, San Antonio, hey, they're the best organization. We understand that. So let's throw that out the door. We know that.
Yeah.
But what changed in a year? What changed from him signing a 5-year deal when he could have signed a 1, or could have left and gone somewhere else?
Yeah.
What changed in that year now where he's at least seemingly soured by something, right?
Right.
What happened?
Well, that's the $113 million question. That's Marc Gasol's.
113, I
That's
love it.
Marc Gasol's contract. You cannot get into his head. It started when the regular season began. I mean, Marc was just bothered by everything, and not the least of which was his performance, because he didn't play well to start. And so it'll be interesting. I would love to be a fly on the wall, or one of those air fresheners in Mike Conley's car when they drove off from FedEx Forum together. I wish I could have planted a bug, because I wonder if he's telling Mike, look, don't do what I did.
That's what, and you segued into my next question. Yeah. That's the most important question, I would imagine, of the offseason. Not the only question. Will Mike Conley return?
Well, I would like to give Grizzly fans a lot of hope and look into the camera and say no, which means he probably will come back. But
yes, reverse psychology.
Right. But I think he'll come back. I think, and I've said this constantly, it will take an insult of an offer financially for Mike Conley not to return here. I think he realizes with Marc and with the moves that they'll be able to make, and with the guys who are injured coming back healthy, Brandon Wright being one of them, they're going to be a playoff team. But do I think Mike will be looking at the moves they make? Absolutely. But they cannot insult him. Listen, he stopped short of saying they've got to max me out, but it's got to be more than what other teams can pay him.
And they don't have a lot of options. If you say goodbye to Mike Conley, what are your options?
What are the alternatives? Exactly. And that's been their premise for re-signing everybody.
Okay. Quick answers. Sure. We'll go rapid fire here. Are you concerned with Gasol coming off the major injury for next year in his future?
I think you have to be, because he's a 7-footer. But I'm encouraged by the fact that everything is progressing well. And then Marc, for the first time in his career as a Grizzly, is talking about being cautious and not rushing the process.
Give me a free agent or two, a name out there that you think could entertain a possible move to Memphis.
Well, Nicholas Batum is a versatile guy, a wing player who can shoot the ball and defend. I think that's somebody they have to go hard after, because he's unrestricted.
Any idea what the increase will be in the salary cap? Because everybody's going to have more money to spend.
Yeah, I think I don't know what the exact number will be, but we're talking about a max deals that start at $20+ million. So when people freak out, like, how can you pay Mike Conley that? Well, guess what? They're going to be players with a lot less talent than Mike Conley who are going to get stupid money.
Everybody back in the front office?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're going to change that. Again, it's back to a traditional structure where you have Chris Wallace, a veteran, and Ed Stefanski, your numbers guy, and John Hollinger. They've all seemed to make it work. I think now the onus, frankly, is on Dave to fall in line.
Ron, you're off the hot seat, but you're not done yet. 5 for the road. We like to end our interviews by asking you 5 quick questions. First thing that comes to mind. Favorite professional sports team?
Chicago Cubs.
Yep, you're a Chicago guy, as everybody knows. Favorite pro athlete of all time?
Ryan Sandberg.
Really?
Yes.
Rhino, okay.
That's who I grew up with. Well, that's kind of 1A and 1B, Michael Jordan.
Favorite music or genre of music or musician, band, individual, whatever, however you want to answer it.
R&B, but anybody who's very close to me knows that I love Patti LaBelle. You bring Patti LaBelle to Memphis, I'll sell out of her concert.
Are you serious? Patti LaBelle, huh?
Patti LaBelle.
Wow, okay. Favorite movie of all time?
Friday.
Why do you like Friday so much?
Because it's silly, it's stupid. Chris Tucker is hilarious. Ice Cube is a genius.
He is, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
I have Friday in my phone. Yeah, I can play it for you. I do. I have it on my phone. I watch it on the plane.
Favorite television show, all time?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I don't know.
It stumps a lot of people. We get to the TV part.
Yeah.
You're working so much and on the road so much.
You know what? I'll answer that by saying, like, I could easily go like Good Times or Martin or Cosby Show, but the Ron Tillery today loves reality shows. I'm a reality.
So give me one real quick.
Real Housewives of Atlanta.
No, he didn't say that. Real Housewives of Atlanta for our very own Ron Tillery. We always appreciate it. We always are entertained by you.
I appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
That's Ron Tillery from the Commercial Appeal. We'll take a break. Overtime is next. While the Grizzlies were playing their third game against San Antonio last Friday night, the Memphis Tigers were hosting their annual spring football game at Liberty Bowl Stadium. It was the conclusion of Mike Norvell's first spring session as the Tigers head coach. An estimated 10,000 were on hand to watch the Tigers, and afterwards it appeared Coach and his team were pretty happy with how things turned out.
Turn up, turn up, turn up, turn up, turn up.
Man, it was just a wonderful night. Loved the way our guys competed. Anytime you're in a scrimmage type setting where it's straight back and forth, no breaks, there's not really a whole lot of time for adjustments or things like that for coaching staff. But it was fun. It was fun just to see the guys come out and go to work. There's some plays that were made. It's anytime you don't have the quarterbacks live, it's a little different game. I think kind of favors the offense just a little bit. But it was fun watching the guys compete. I'm really proud of how we went through 15 practices. We're on track for where we want to go. There's a lot of work that needs to be done here this summer. We got the best strength coach in the country with Coach Storm, so I know he's going to have the guys ready. And then it's going to be a lot of competition and a great battle here moving forward this fall.
For you personally, this is your first football team where you are the man calling the shots, and to see them go out there and perform like this, what was going through your mind?
I love seeing them compete, and that's something that this is a special football team. And I'll tell you, for the last 5 months, I told them yesterday, I don't know if I've had more fun coaching than I've had than just being around these guys and to seeing the hunger that they have, the way they've come to every meeting. People don't know. I mean, you sit there and watch this. I mean, you come out and watch a game, and you don't really understand fully the amount of work that's gone in. I mean, these guys have been in at 6 o'clock. For all of our meetings are at 6 a.m. We come out, we're going fast, physical, hard in practice. I mean, guys get beat up and bruised up, but we wanted a physical spring. We wanted to kind of be able to start to establish that identity, the kind of football team we are. And I thought the guys did a tremendous job in how they've worked, how they prepared, and we're excited about moving forward.
I feel like I did pretty good. I mean, we had a rough start at the beginning, with that fumble. But other than that, I feel like we responded very well.
What was it like just being out here in the Liberty Bowl and playing for the first time?
Man, it was awesome. I mean, first time I came out here was my official visit, so this was my second time actually being out here and being able to play with this crowd. I mean, I was truly just blessed to be out here.
What do you feel that you're learning and what you really can get to this program?
I feel like I'm learning, just to take what the defense is giving me, and I'm also learning defense is a lot more than what I have in the past. I understand, how football is working. And one thing that I feel like I do well, I'm going to be able to, make all the plays in this offense, I feel like, and extend plays when things break down.
How about being here in Memphis? Of course, you were at Tennessee when you first started, but this is a different side of the state and a different program.
Man, I love it over here. I mean, it reminds me kind of of Charlotte. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, so the city feel kind of reminds me of Charlotte, so I've loved it here. I mean, Knoxville, it was in the city as well, but it's nothing like Memphis.
Oh, man, I think we look good. We always started off shaky, but, that just comes with it. We eventually settled down. Defense made some plays, offense made some plays, and that just comes with the spring game. I think overall we look pretty good.
What did you see out of the quarterbacks here? You got 2 new guys that are battling for the job.
I think they all look good. Like right now, it's still up in the air. We got to go through fall camp, and once everything is said and done, then we'll know who the real starter is. But as of right now, both of them, 3 of them is actually looking pretty good.
How have you guys grown, I guess, as an offense over the course of spring? What ways have you gotten better?
We've gotten better a lot. Even when I came out the basketball court, I kind of came out there and jumped right into the fire. But from then and now, we've grown so much, and I've seen the progress each and every day.
I think they did pretty good, That's kind of how we were when Coach Fuente first got here. It was a little slow at first, but then we started off pretty good. So overall, they started off slow, but they ended up pretty good. So hopefully they take that over in the first game.
So give me your assessment of the offense.
It looked pretty good, for that new offensive style. It's kind of like the same plays, but a lot more Chip Kelly, Oregon to it. But I think they'll be all right.
What about the defense?
They look pretty good. They look stout. They made some plays. They got Jannard Avery back there, and he's going to lead the defense pretty good.
Any predictions on how they're going to do this year?
Man, I don't know. Hopefully they go to just win a conference and go to another bowl game just like we did and just keep it going.
So have you heard from anybody in the NFL?
Yeah, I've heard a little something, calls here and there, you know, so we'll see. It's just a waiting game now.
Well, the three-day NFL draft wraps up today, and a number of players from the region will get a chance to live out their dream of playing pro football. Former Memphis Tigers quarterback Paxton Lynch among them. We wish all the young men the best of luck with their football futures. And that'll do it for now. Have yourselves a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by
Infinity of Memphis has moved to Germantown Road, just half-mile north of Wolf Chase Galleria, and is proud to support WKNO for its quality broadcasting and service to our community. Quality and service? No wonder Infinity of Memphis feels at home on WKNO.